Hey, welcome everyone. I am Steve Jackson with Evolve Guitar. Today I wanted to get into this Jimmy Page solo for you. The reason I wanted to do this is I think that we can all agree that Jimmy Page is one of the absolute greatest guitar players of all time, especially his lead playing is absolutely iconic. It's phenomenal. I can't say enough good things about it. But I wanted to break down this solo for you today so that you can see how you can apply some of these ideas to your own solos and how you can improve your own soloing by learning a solo such as this. At first glance, you might look at a solo like this and go, yeah, you know, it's an E pentatonic based solo. I've seen it a million times. You know, what can we really take from this that we don't already know? But one of the main things I think that is important to take from this is his use of phrasing. So the way that he phrases his solos is phenomenal. It really doesn't get any better than this. So instead of focusing though on just the fact that he's playing an E pentatonic bass solo, I want you to notice what he's not playing. I want you to notice in between each phrase how he takes a breath, allows the song to have some space, and then comes back in with another flurry of notes. In my experience of teaching, this is probably the single most overlooked thing from guitar players that are starting off learning how to solo. They don't think about phrasing. They don't think about where to take a break, how to do one section of a solo, take a breath, come back with another part that complements the first part. Now we hear singers do this all the time. We don't often hear singers come in and start singing rapidly as many notes as they possibly can and cramming it all in there without taking a breath. It would sound pretty ridiculous if a singer did that. But oftentimes us as guitar players, that's kind of how we approach solos. We're gonna break this solo down and I want you to really take note of his use of phrasing and how important that is in solos and how you can apply that in your solos. Let's break down this iconic solo that he plays. Now the first phrase that he's gonna play in this has some familiar blues licks in it. The first one being right off the bat, he's gonna play the 14th fret and he's gonna bend that up a whole step. And what that's doing is it's actually hitting the note B. Then we're jumping down to the B string, playing 12, and then 12 on the E string. Now the interesting thing here, right, when we're playing this first note and bending, this note that we're hitting here is the exact same note as the second note we're playing. So you see this a lot in the blues. Now moving on from there, we're going to the 15th fret of the B string, down to 12. And then right here, this is the first time he's playing a note that's not truly in the E pentatonic scale. So this note right here is really a tritone. And again, a common blues thing that you see when you're playing E pentatonic. This note right here, they call that the blues note sometimes. But that's this right here that he's landing on in the scale. Now the way he's ending this phrase too is also interesting because he's ending it on the first note that he played. So it makes a really complete phrase, starting off moving up in pitch and then moving back down and then landing right where he started. The next phrase that comes in is just fantastic. It's just a perfect complement to the first phrase that he played. And just like in the first phrase, he was playing the E pentatonic scale. Now he's going to continue on the second phrase, still with that E pentatonic scale, but now he's going to move down here and play it in the first position. And it's going to sound like this. Now let's break that down. We're starting off on the G string. We're going to slide from 2 to 4. And then we're going to grab the 3rd fret of the B string. And then we're going to move back down. We're going to go 4th fret, G string, to 2, to open. So. Then another 2nd fret, G string, to open. And then D string, 2nd fret, open, and then repeat that, 2nd fret open. and an A string, 2nd fret open. Again, it's just a perfect complement to the first phrase in this. One thing I particularly like about this is in the first phrase, he ended kind of on an up note, meaning he was bending that pitch higher to end the first phrase. And in the second phrase, to kind of contrast that, he ends by going down, like he does here, ending on a down. Truly, maybe the biggest thing that makes this work is the break that happens in between these two phrases. I can't really imagine if he had played this solo without those breaks in between each phrase, it would sound kind of clustered. It wouldn't be nearly as expressive. In the next phrase, we're moving back to the position we started in on the 12th fret. It's going to sound like this. Now we're doing something very similar to we did in the first phrase. We're actually starting off exactly the same way. Again, with this real familiar blues lick. We're playing the 14th fret of the G string. We're bending a whole step. And then we're grabbing the 12th fret of B, 12th fret of E. Now this time though, we're going to go to the 15th fret of the B string and do 2 whole step bends. And then we're grabbing with our pinky the 15th fret of the E string. And then we're bending one more time on the B string. I love that. It's very like vocal sounding, these bends. And then again, there's another break, right? I can't drive this point home enough. If you want to improve your solos, take note of this. All of these gaps in between the phrases create this whole thing that is so unified and lyrical and like a conversation, like a back and forth. Like here's one point, you take a breath, here's another point, you take a breath. It's like telling a story. Now the next phrase is going to position shift. It's going to go up to the 17th fret on the B string. Then we're going to grab the 20th fret on the B string. Then we're going to do a really big bend. We're going to do 1.5 step bend. Now something that's cool about this is that note that we're bending to is that same note we played earlier, the blues note when we went. It's that tritone again, that blues note. Very cool, very cool. Again, another note that's not technically in the E pentatonic scale, but it really gives it a lot of character here. And then again, another really well-timed pause in between phrases. The next phrase is super cool, maybe my favorite phrase in this whole solo actually. And one of the things that's so cool about it is that we're going to play this note here that is completely not in the E pentatonic scale. And it sounds like this. So the first note is going to be the B string, 17th fret. And then we're going to grab 19 on the first string. And then we're going to bend that a whole step. Now what that's doing is it's giving us a C sharp, which sounds just like this. And that note is really the major 6th of E. So that is definitely not in the scale. And it's super cool because it gives you this neat contrast again in this scale where most of the notes have been primarily from E pentatonic scale. And this note, again, being the major 6, is totally out of the scale. It sounds really cool. It's a great contrast to everything else that's been happening. Additionally, what's cool is that right when he plays it, there's that little pause. So you're going to play that note, bend it, and then stop it. And again, that is a really common blues device. And again, like what usually happens is you bend that note, you stop it, and then you bring it back to the original pitch and play it one more time. Again, this is a really cool, really pretty common blues device that gets used a lot. The whole phrase sounds like this. And then the final phrase to finish this whole thing off sounds like this. So let's break that down. We're playing the 17th fret of the B string to 19. And then a bend with a stop. Again, such a cool way Very expressive, very bluesy. So then we're doing 2 bends after that. We're grabbing the first string on 19, and then 17, B string.